Okay. I'm talking about Mata Hari. Okay, so who is Mata Hari? She was born in Leeuwarden, Netherlands in 1876. And she was born into a family who was very successful in the Netherlands. Her father was a land broker and baker. And they have this money and lavish lifestyle until the dad loses the money due to his gambling addiction. She marries the Dutch army captain Rudolf McLeod, and she's able to move back into the Dutch upper class society through her marriage. However, this marriage is very complicated, and McLeod is very abusive, is an alcoholic. They end up having two kids. Both end up dying at a pretty early age due to syphilis. Um, but before, or one of them dies, but the other one's still around. Um, and the husband gains control of the kids due to her profession as an exotic dancer. And then at 21, the other kid dies, which is super unfortunate for both of them. Okay, so she started off as a circus horse rider, and an artist model, which she found great like excitement in, and it moved her into wanting to be a dancer. Um, and so she was kind of the first person in the industry to make exotic dancing like more of an upper class idea before it was very you're down in the dumps if you go and watch that kind of thing. But she brings the idea that it is okay for upper class people to watch exotic dancing. And through this, she got a lot of connections and um, ended up getting into the spy work during World War One. Okay, so right around this time is World War One starting up, and as a Dutch citizen, she remains as a neutral person in the war, which means that she's able to move freely across borders. She falls in love with a Russian army captain or commander, but he is injured in battle and she wants to see him. He is in a hospital in Germany, and in order for her to get across the border from France to Germany, she agrees with French officials to work for them in the spy industry in exchange to be able to visit her lover. This meeting is very brief, and it actually kind of creates a weird um, dynamic between her lover and her because she's sent to go visit this guy named Crown Prince Williams, and her job is to seduce him to get a bunch of money and get German army secrets. However, Crown Prince William's just kind of like the face of the German army and actually doesn't do much. And it doesn't know very many secrets. Um, so she doesn't get very many tad bits of information to sell back to the French government. Um, and so this leads to the French not being like very nice to her, and so she ends up kind of playing both sides, or allegedly playing both sides, according to the French government. Um, yeah, so here we go. Okay, so General Walter Nicolai is the German general that Mata Hari reports to, and so after not getting any useful information from the French, she also doesn't give any useful information to Germans because they don't really trust her in the French military. Um, since she's not giving any information to the Germans, they expose her as a German spy, which leads to her arrest by the French government. Okay, so since she's arrested by the French, they kind of let her back into the war area, back into Spain actually to meet with the Williams commander. Um, but they give her like a little bit of a sneaky, or they kind of lie to her a little bit, saying talking about these six agents that are loyal to French. And she overhears this, or she thinks like she overhears this information and shares it with the Germans. Um, Five of these agents are told to be like feeding misinformation, but one of them is said to be a double agent. And the one guy that was told to be a double agent is executed by the German government. um, which kind of pegs her as doing espionage work for the Germans. This leads the French government to believe that she is in charge of spreading the secrets to the Germans, even though they don't have any true evidence that this is actually the case. Okay, so what happened? So this this kind of led her to be put on trial under the French government. But since it was wartime, there was no international protection. So the Dutch government isn't able to interfere, even though she is a citizen of them. She was tried and found guilty of being a spy, because they needed a scapegoat for all the deaths of the military members in the French government. And she was positioned kind of imperfectly for her. And her story became very publicly known during this time. They exaggerated her role of what she did. People were saying like she's a woman, and so like her body, and like she wasn't able to deal with the pressure of being a spy, and so that was like the reason that she lied. But that's not true. There's no evidence that she was actually uh, a German spy. And so because of this, she was sentenced to the firing squad in 1917 at the end of the war. Okay, so now that we look back on it from a historical perspective, we remember Mata Hari because she was kind of thought of in the time. It was a very controversial idea that she was tried and convicted to death because there was no hard evidence, and it kind of highlights the idea of misrepresentation of women in the military. And a lot of her movies kind of focus on the idea of being like a dancer and being seductive and being this kind of like sexual figure. Um, and so it's interesting to look back on that and then uh, see how it has affected women espionage in the future. So that's Mata Hari.